जी
जी
হ্যালো, আসসালামু আলাইকুম ম্যাম।
अस्सलाम वालेकुम मैम।
আমাকে দেখা যাচ্ছে না যাচ্ছে না?
জি ম্যাডাম।
জি আমি তো দেখা যায় আমার ছবিটা কোথায় এখানে? আজকে today I am going to discuss with you about a very interesting thing in this period which we are crossing the COVID period. This is very interesting. We will talk about keratoplasty. Okay. Actually, the keratoplasty can come in your exam as a short note, and sometimes it is not that much very important for you, but you should know the thing that how keratoplasty is done, how cornea is taken from the dead body, and how it is preserved, and how we transplant it in a good eye, and which are the eyes we can transplant, we can suggest for doing the keratoplasty, all these things. Okay, just think that it is a story. I'm telling you the story about keratoplasty. Okay, so for keratoplasty, eye banking is very important. In each and every country, there is eye bank which are responsible for preserving the cornea. So from where this cornea comes? This cornea comes from the dead body. See, this is a COVID period. Lots of people are dying. We can have lots of cornea, but we don't know whether these cornea are infected or not, whether this cornea can be transplanted or not. Still, in spite of that, I had an email yesterday from India. They are telling to send the cornea to the eye bank, which will be preserved for that kind of keratoplasty in which cornea is needed to retain the configuration of the recipient's eye. The thing is that when we will, what is keratoplasty? Keratoplasty, it is a corneal transplantation or grafting. And undoubtedly, this is an operation in which we take the cornea from the healthy donor and then replace it to the unhealthy tissues, unhealthy cornea of the host, so that host become able to see or the host can able to have a good vision. Now, then it will be a successful outcome. You know, cornea is composed of 5 layers: epithelium, then Bowman's membrane, then connective tissue, descemet, and endothelium. Except other than the endothelium, all the tissues can be replaced by the same tissue or by the fibrous tissue. But corneal endothelium cannot be replaced. So for that reason, for a successful outcome of the transplant, we need a good amount of corneal endothelium. And the cornea have to preserve it in a certain temperature, in a certain storage media, and this can be for 7 to 15 days we can storage it, then we can transplant. Suppose in an area, suppose a person, while he was alive, he has given consent that he wants to donate the cornea after death. So the name will be endorsed in the eye bank. Whenever the patient will die, the message will go to the eye bank people. They will send certain health worker are there who will go to the dead body and with all aseptic precaution, cleaning, draping, after doing all these things, he will cut the cornea along with the perilimbal area. So cornea along with some part of the sclera, they cut nicely and they put a shield on that open area and then close the eyes. Then the dead body will be buried. They will preserve that cornea in a certain medium, and there are different types of medium. The original MK medium, and it claims for storage period up to 10 days. There are Kesol, Dexol, Licorol, Optisol, all these are storage medium, and they claim that they can preserve the cornea for 14 to 16 days. Changes in the endothelium as a result of postmortem time or so the cause of death, the amount of endothelium, which depends on the donor age, all these things are very, very important. And how you are cutting the cornea, how you are preserving the cornea, and how you are keeping the cornea, and how long you are storing, whether it is storage in a certain good temperature which is needed in the eye bank, all these things are needed for a good transplantation. Now, the health worker will transfer the cornea to the eye bank. In the eye bank, the cornea will be preserved in that temperature, and then from the register book, the eye bank will contact with the person who needs cornea. Then the ophthalmologist then it is the function of the ophthalmologist to do the surgery. In the OT, after cleaning and draping the patient, which has been selected for the keratoplasty, the cornea, in the OT, the preserved cornea will also come. And then we used to cut the cornea of the recipient very nicely. Before cutting the cornea of the recipient, we need to cut the donor cornea in the OT. And remember, whenever we keep the cornea in the container, we always keep the endothelium up, because we don't want to be traumatize the endothelium. And in the OT, first of all, we will cut the donor cornea. The size of the donor cornea will be a bit larger than the recipient one. Then we will cut the recipient cornea. Then after that, the third step. So first step, gathering the cornea from the dead person. Second step, storage of the cornea in the eye bank. Third step, in the OT, we will cut again the donor cornea. Fourth step, we will cut the recipient's cornea. And then we will transplant the donor cornea over the recipient cornea, and then we nicely suture it. And then the post-operative management is also very, very important. So guys, this is the certain step we need to do. Now we are discussing step by step what are the indications, what are the type of keratoplasty, and in whom we used to do the keratoplasty. All these theoretical things I am going to discuss with you. There are different types of keratoplasty. It can be full thickness, which is known as penetrating keratoplasty. In this penetrating keratoplasty, all the part of the central of the cornea. But superotemporal part of the cornea of a person is good. The person, for that reason, he cannot see properly. Then what we do? We just cut on that side and just rotate the cornea like this and then stitch. You know, the inferotemporal part is very important for visual axis. So rotating the cornea and exposing the eye in a transparent cornea medium due to rotation, that I told you the opacity is in the inferotemporal. After rotation, I put the opacity in the superotemporal, and the inferotemporal came the transparent cornea. So he can see properly, very nicely. This is known as rotational keratoplasty. The important thing you must say when the question arises, what are the type of keratoplasty? You need to say there are two types mainly. One is penetrating keratoplasty, another is partial thickness keratoplasty. Now, penetrating keratoplasty. Why we do it? We can do it to improve the vision, known as optical. We need to improve the, if we need to improve the corneal integrity or keep the corneal integrity, then that type of keratoplasty is tectonic. See, what is tectonic? How can I explain you? See, suppose there was a corneal ulcer on a person, the cornea became thin, and due to thinness of the cornea, the intraocular pressure, normal intraocular pressure pushes the cornea forwards and the cornea becomes bulging forward. So this is known as staphyloma. In that case, to preserve the corneal integrity, we can do the keratoplasty. Then we are therapeutic. In certain medications, the cornea is unresponsive and we are treating for a long time. In that case, we can also go for keratoplasty, which is known as therapeutic. And what is cosmetic type? Your vision is will not improve. You are blind. There is corneal opacity, which is looking ugly. And your optic nerve is also damaged due to certain region. But the patient wants to do keratoplasty for cosmetic purpose. So without improvement of vision, when we do keratoplasty is known as cosmetic. Then what is the clinical example that in which we can think of keratoplasty? Suppose there is healed corneal ulcer, corneal dystrophy, corneal degeneration, then keratoconus, means the cornea is very much conical for bulging forward. In that reason, in that case, her refractive condition is also very much that is, refractive condition is not also very good to that person for the conical cornea. In that cases, we replaces the cornea with normal configuration. So removing the conical shape, putting the normal configuration, the patient can have good vision. Then bullous keratopathy. Then in case of different infection, but the infection should not be in active condition. Congenital opacity, corneal, chemical burn, in all trauma, in all this condition, you can go for keratoplasty. And penetrating keratoplasty involves a significant amount of postoperative care. It is very important, the postoperative care of the patient. Not only that, before doing the surgery, you need to have a proper preoperative evaluation of the patient. What do you mean by preoperative evaluation? You have to find it out what is the type of the visual acuity, whether his optic nerve is okay, whether the visual other media is okay, and whether the patient, the opacity in such a way that there is perilimbal vascularization. In those cases, a large amount of vascularization, keratoplasty is not that much helpful, because if we do keratoplasty in that condition, with that vessels, the antibody antigen reaction will be high and there is high chance of rejection. So the patient must keep in mind, you must counsel the patient that the postoperative care is long continued process. So you must counsel the patient before doing the keratoplasty. Otherwise, the patient will blame you. And when do you think that the prognosis will be good? In which cases of the cornea, after doing the keratoplasty, the prognosis will be good? You can think it. So this can be keratoconus, trauma, corneal dystrophy, lattice and granular type, and superficial stroma scar. This will give you good outcome. But girded prognosis means prognosis is not that much good in case of mild dry eye, because due to dry eye, there will be lack of tear fluid and there will be chance of infection. An active infection, I told you, then failed of rejected grade 1 and 3 graft, corneal staphyloma, epithelial ingrowth, blood staining cornea, congenital glaucoma, all these will give guarded prognosis. Means prognosis can be good or cannot be good. That is borderline. And very poor prognosis can be occur in case of severe dry eye. We don't go for keratoplasty. And Stevens-Johnson syndrome, we also don't go for keratoplasty. Severe chemical burn, we don't go because there is simulafferone and there is active vascularization. We don't go for keratoplasty. Then before doing the keratoplasty, I told you we must evaluate. What are the preoperative evaluation? We have to think what will be the visual outcome. I already told you. We have to see other media condition. We have to see the condition of the optic nerve, that whether this will tell you the visual outcome will be good or not. Then you have to see ocular surface abnormality, dry eye, blepharitis, misdirected eyelashes, ectropion, entropion. You have to first correct all these things, then go for keratoplasty. Then intraocular pressure, that is very important. You must control intraocular pressure prior to going the surgery. And if there is active inflammation in the eye, don't go for keratoplasty. And prior corneal disease and vascularization, this is also very important. Peripheral corneal melting, which can occur in case of rheumatoid arthritis. This should be treated prior to going to surgery. Then I told you, host or donor, this is the same person who is donating the eye, recipient or patient who is taking the cornea. There are different types of surgical anesthesial way. We go for peribulbar block, means we anesthetize the cornea, giving the anesthesia around the eyeball. Preoperative intraocular pressure should be in a control. We can give intravenous mannitol. The patient who undergo a simple penetrating keratoplasty, before going to keratoplasty, we can start antibiotic eye drop. We need to constrict the pupil, constricted pupil, the iris, because we have to enter into the eyeball. And what is the size of the graft? Ideal size is 7.5 millimeter. So the diameter of the graft is very, very important. It shouldn't be not over than 8.5 millimeter, or it should not be less than 7.5 millimeter. Now you can ask me, why not 8.5 millimeter? Because you know about perilimbal blood vessels. And so if it is larger than 8.5 millimeter, limbal blood vessel may come. And this vascularization, we don't want any vascularization in case of graft. Then there is a chance of peripheral anterior synechia because wound margin is near to the root of the iris posteriorly, which may come adherent to the wound and then can cause anterior synechia and raise intraocular pressure. Again, we don't want post-op intraocular pressure raised. If the graft size is less than 7.5 millimeter, then there is high chance of astigmatism. So all these things, the size more than 8.5, less than 7.5, we don't want. The ideal size 7.5. And I told you the donor cornea will be a bit larger than the recipient's cornea. How we have prepared? This is Trifine. This is instruments what we use in case of cutting the cornea. There are other type of Trifine also. Then excision of the donor cornea should be always precise to the host. I already told you, first we cut the host cornea or donor cornea. Sorry, first we cut the donor cornea, then we go for host. It is prepared by Trifining from the previously what we kept in the eye bank sclerocorneal button. I told you whenever we collect the cornea from the dead body, we collect cornea along with some part of the sclera. That is known as sclerocorneal button. And we keep it in a block, Teflon block, which is concave. The endothelial side will be up. Okay? So after cutting the cornea from the dead body, we keep it over the Teflon block, which is a bit concave, and we keep the cornea endothelium up. Then in this way, so I told you the donor cornea and recipient's cornea. What is the difference between the size? I told you the donor cornea will be a bit larger. It can be 0.25 millimeter larger so that we can stitch. If both of the cornea is equal size, we can't stitch properly and there will be leakage. Recipient cornea will be 0.25 smaller. Suppose the ideal size I told you of the keratoplasty cornea size 7.5 millimeter. So of the recipient. So the donor cornea will be 0.25 more. That means 7.75 will be the size of the donor and recipient will be 7.5 millimeter. Then you can replace it nicely. But what about in case of hyperopic eye? It will be a bit larger. And in case of keratoconus, the size we expect a bit smaller than the donor. Okay. Then defining of the recipient button, the globe should be fixed. Then we have to cut the recipient button. And this we already told. We very nicely, the recipient eye should be, we put the Trifine vertically over the recipient cornea and then gradually we rotate it. See, here we kept the Trifine over the cornea and here this is a picture of the Trifine and we must introduce some amount of viscoelastic in the anterior chamber before doing the Trifine. Then here see again it is a picture over the donor recipient's cornea. We are rotating this Trifine there are certain marker is there and certain technique is there to rotate it, and we cross the 80% of the cornea by this trephine, and in rest of the cut, what we do, this is trephine. After cutting the 80%, we rest of the cornea we cut by this knife. We complete the cutting, and this is diseased cornea. We remove it, then we replace the cornea from the recipient. If it is needed to do the cataract, we can also do in the same sitting cataract. Now, how we can suture the keratoplasty? We give 4 suture. This is known as stay suture. This white cornea is recipient's cornea, and this is donor cornea red. And we give 4 sutures, 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 3 and 9 o'clock. And this is known as stay suture. Then we suture the rest of the cornea. See, like this. This suture can be, these are all interrupted sutures. Or we can give the continuous suture, anything you want. And then post-operatively, we give antibiotic drop, antibiotic ointment, steroid. We must be careful about the steroid because the transplantation of the cornea from other eye, there is every chance of rejection. So we give topical, we depending on the risk, normal risk, high risk, and we also give oral prednisolone. We give cycloplegic, short acting, because widely dilated that may there is a chance of posterior synechia. We give short acting mediatics to keep the iris mobile, and we superiorly we give lubricant. There can be irritation, there can be uveitis, glaucoma, wound leak. All these complications can occur post-operatively. In case of laminar, I told you some part of the cornea will be replaced, and PKP induce astigmatism, wide range 3 to 7 diameter. That means penetrating keratoplasty, but decline in endothelial cell count leading to graft failure in case of PKP. And allograft rejection is more. But in case of lamellar keratoplasty, the involves a partial thickness of cornea that is transplaced only diseased portion. It is very helpful. You won't need to replace the whole cornea, and it is less invasive, but finer surgical skill and more refined instruments are needed in this case. Okay, guys, thank you so much to be with me, and stay blessed. Have you enjoyed the lecture?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, this is only for your knowledge that what is keratoplasty and how we do the keratoplasty. Short note can come, so you have to write it very nicely. Goodbye. See you in the next class.
Thank you, ma'am.